Our museum begins in a padded cell. Here, an introductory documentary prepares visitors for what they are about to see, the truth behind the psychiatric system and its pervasive influence on society. The visitor then enters the Origins of Psychiatry exhibit, from the infamous Bedlam Hospital where patients were chained like animals, to the water tortures of the 19th century, to the surgical procedures of the early 20th century. The next exhibit explores the origins of behavior therapy. Here, the visitor learns how psychiatry laid the groundwork for the abuses we see today. Next, we trace the psychiatric ideology eugenics, or racial betterment, and illustrate how propaganda was used to convince whole populations that so-called inferior people should be segregated, sterilized, and even killed. Visitors then learn how the same science of eugenics responsible for the Nazi Holocaust influenced the KKK, apartheid, and psychiatric research in the U.S. that targeted African American and Hispanic children for abusive psychiatric treatment. Next, visitors learn how psychiatric treatment was repackaged and used to falsely label political dissidents in Russia as mentally ill and to incarcerate them without trial in the Soviet Gulag system. In the mid-1930s, psychiatrists began using electroshock and psychosurgery. Most visitors touring the museum are unaware that these brain-damaging techniques are still used today, even on children. Visitors can dial their age to see how long they would be electroshocked if they were to receive this treatment today. Moving into the modern realm of psychiatry, visitors learn the true source of our drug culture, the advertising that feeds it, and the violence that results. The next exhibit suggests a present-day asylum. Here, the visitor is shown psychiatry evading the law by incarcerating people in institutions against their will. Thousands have been subjected to this abusive practice, which includes forced drugging and violent restraint, with traumatic results, including death. Shown here are well-known stories of artists whose careers and sometimes lives were tragically cut short. This exhibit reveals the startling truth about these actors, musicians, and writers who died following psychiatric treatment. Also presented is CCHR's work with attorneys and prosecutors exposing how the field of psychiatry has invaded the courts and eroded our justice system. The next exhibit covers the subject of mind control. This display includes Freedom of Information documents exposing how psychiatric techniques have been used to program individuals who then carry out acts of violence. This next exhibit covers the prosecution of crimes committed by psychiatrists, resulting in countless convictions. It is a little-known fact that 10% of psychiatrists admit to sexually abusing patients, with 1 out of 20 of their victims being a child. In this next exhibit, we see how the influence of pharmaceutical dollars on diagnostic methods have led to millions of children being forced onto drugs without any medical evidence to substantiate this. Walking through a metal detector, like those currently used in schools to screen children for weapons, visitors sit in a classroom and learn about the hidden source of school violence and how society has been led to believe that we should medicate, not educate our children. This final exhibit gives a broad overview showing how psychiatry set its agenda to influence all aspects of modern society and how it intends to broaden that agenda into the future. At the end of the tour, visitors are shown many of CCHR's achievements in the field of mental health reform. Here they can collect their own copies of CCHR's authoritative publications and reports. Inspired by all they have seen, visitors are invited to become involved in CCHR's widespread activities to correct the abuses they have just witnessed. And for some, it has helped them to save children's lives.
I have never seen anything quite like it in my life. Walking through this exhibition specifically is like, oh my God, how much detail and how amazing it all is. The fact that it was just so well set out and so easy and accessible.
I've been to the Holocaust Museum. I've been to the Museum of Natural Arts. I've been to museums around the world. This is without a doubt a rattler. This is a real eye-opener.
Just the heading alone caught my attention. But after coming in here, I've been looking for any and everybody I can bring back. to show this.
I think that what CCHR is doing, the museum that you guys have put together here to bring awareness to the mass population, to the world, not just the United States, but to the world, is absolutely extraordinary.
I'm indebted to CCHR for helping me take on the psychiatrist who had misdiagnosed my kids and put them on medication. Without CCHR and the information I was armed with, I wouldn't have had a chance.